All right, well, I'll get going here. My name is Richard Drexler. I'm the Vice President of Communications for Strategic Metals. We're a Yukon-focused project generator, so focused on early stage projects, but we also have exposure to a lot of more advanced stage targets through shareholdings. I'm going to give you some great stock tips here, so make sure you read this carefully. So we're an innovative explorer. We've been active in the Yukon for over 50 years. Our group has been involved in a number of major discoveries up there. We've got the largest portfolio of mineral occurrences in the Yukon, which is one of the best jurisdictions for mineral potential in the world. We're going to be drilling a couple of our own projects this summer focused on copper. And through our major shareholdings, we've got exposure to well over 16 million in diamond drilling by other companies. Currently, about 89 million shares outstanding. We've got a market cap of 40 million. With 32 million in working capital. So that's 12 million in cash and 20 million worth of stock in other companies. We're a little different than most juniors out there. We actually provide distributions to our shareholders. We've done so 3 times over the last 10 years. The deemed value of that's over $20 million. But since there are share distributions, each distribution has traded at least double the deemed value since spin-out. Management are large shareholders, which is why we like to return capital to our shareholders. Ggl Resources Corp and Trifecta Gold Fund round out some of our larger institutional shareholders. So we're the Yukon experts. We're centered around Archer Cathro & Associates. They've been active, like I said, for 50 years in Yukon, have been involved in a number of the major discoveries in Yukon, and actually sold the MinFile database to the Yukon government. So we actually did write the book on Yukon exploration. Here you can see the dominant claim position by Strategic Metals shows up in red, and some of our other group companies where we have large shareholdings in the other highlighted colors. So Yukon's been a major focus for the majors in the last few years. You've seen Barrick come in with attack in the northern portion there where there's the green. Coeur Mining came in and took 10% of one of our subsidiaries, Claza, or Rockhaven Resources, for their Claza deposit. And Goldcorp funded Arcus Development's drill program last year. So we've got a lot of majors coming in through our group right now. One of the projects we're going to be drill testing this summer is the Hopper project. So many of you may be familiar with the casino. It's a massive copper gold porphyry deposit in Yukon. It was our group that made the discovery. We used to have a royalty in the casino that we sold at the peak of the last cycle. And since then, we've been focused on finding where the next one is. And the Hopper, here on this chart, you can see to scale the geochem anomalies. So a massive anomaly. This one is a road accessible target. So that's what is nice to set this one apart. One of the other targets is the Saloon. We're going to be putting a few drill holes into that this year. It's an occurrence that we acquired 2 years ago. It was one of the first mineral occurrences in the entire Yukon. A couple hundred meters north of where we drilled our initial hole last year, there were a couple adits put in the early 1900s where guys were high-grade mining copper gold mineralization and pulling it out on horseback. So we've got guys on the ground right now investigating that. This just shows sort of how we run our strategic as a business, and how we tend to balance our exploration and evaluation costs, which show up in blue, with the proceeds that we receive from mineral exploration. This chart also shows the cyclicality of the exploration stage companies, I guess, out there. As you can see, there was a nice little run in 2007, 2008, and then a really big run in 2010, 2011. And since then, there hasn't been a lot of funding for the junior explorers. So what we've been doing is moving our portfolio forward with the cash we have on hand and getting the next round of drill targets ready to go. So we currently have about 118 projects where we have 100% interest in. And there are about 16 targets in there where we have them fully permitted for large-scale drill programs. The idea being that when a partner comes to us looking for a project, whether it's copper, lead, zinc, silver, tungsten, you name it, we've got it, and we've got a drill permit there. We've done the community consultation. You can get a drill on it sort of next week. Here again, we'll highlight the distributions to shareholders, 2008, 2011, and 2017. That's the deemed value of share distributions to shareholders. So from time to time, we get a project within our portfolio that we're not getting the right offer from outside parties. So we decide, well, let's just keep this in-house. We'll create a new shell, put the property in there, and then dividend it out to our shareholders, and then go on and explore it that way, so that strategic isn't the one out funding the larger drill programs to define resources. So here's some of our major shareholdings. I'll touch on Rockhaven here in a second. Some of the others, Precipitate Gold was one where we got our initial position through providing properties at their IPO, funded a subsequent drill program when they're looking for a VMS camp down in Dominican. So we do get exposure outside of Yukon through shareholdings. Silver Range Resources was a previous spin-out. After we spun them out, they went on to define a 40 million ounce silver resource. They've since transitioned more into Northwest Territories, Nunavut, Nevada as a project generator. They've got about 32 projects now with 12 under option, so they're quite aggressive. Our most recent spin-out is Trifecta Gold. We spun that out last year. They just picked up a nice target down in Nevada, a couple historic mines with some high-grade gold drill intersects below the shallow surface mines. So that one's going to be a drill target this summer. Attack Resources, that's a company that Barrick just came in, did a JV deal on a big portion of their land. They were also a 20% investor. And that's one where they'd made a Carlin-style gold discovery in Yukon. It went unrecognized by the market, and we provided a lot of the early stage financing. So from time to time, we do provide financing to companies where we see that there's a very exceptional risk reward to that. And so I'm going to highlight one of those right now, and that's Rockhaven Resources. We've been recently adding to our position in the open market since they announced some positive metallurgy. They're going to have a new resource coming out here within a couple weeks, anticipating it'll be over 2 million ounces of gold equivalent. And this is the highest grade gold deposit in the Yukon that's ever been discovered in the history of the Yukon. We're in an area that is surrounded by placer operations, so it's mining-friendly jurisdiction. It's road accessible, not far from Carmax and power. Here you can see a plan view of their deposit. It's a series of carbonate-based metal epithermal style veins, which means that as opposed to a traditional epithermal deposit, you can have high-grade mineralization extend over a kilometer vertical extent. The resource that's going to be coming out soon just contemplates drilling down to about 300 or 400 meters, and some of our best intersects are right at the bottom. So here you've got a deposit that's already at the 2 million ounce mark, wide open. You can easily see, well, if you can double that depth extent based on the deposit model, you could add a lot of ounces. And what spurred us to start adding to our position recently was the metallurgical results that came out for the eastern portion of their deposit. And as you can see on that map there, most of their focus has been on the west, where we've got really high-grade gold. I mean, you get into the western BRX there, the gold grades are over 9 grams per ton. Whereas as you move to the east, you start moving from more discrete veins into more of a fracture-style system. And in the past few years, the focus has been on grade, so they've been focused on the west. But now that we've identified, or so that we've realized that we can get over 80% recovery just by cyanidation on our bulk tonnage portion of this, it really opens this target up. So it's one of the few plays out there where you can see more than 5 million ounce potential, and this thing's trading at a $20 million market cap. We recently took over Ggl Resources Corp. This was a company that was quite active 20 years ago in the diamond field. So they put together a massive database of information, but a lot of their team was getting into their 80s, so they've been quite inactive for the past decade. So as they started, we realized they were starting to sell off some key ground, and we decided that that database was far too valuable to let go. We got them to roll it back. We financed them. We brought on a new team. Brought on Dave Kelch as the president and CEO. He was running Rio Tinto's exploration efforts when they discovered Diavik. We also brought on Chris Herkis as an advisor, who's been managing the programs out at Kelvin and Faraday for Kennedy Diamonds. They just got taken out by Mountain Province Diamonds. So again, this is one of the other opportunities that had presented itself because we're cash rich and always looking for deals in the resource space. Silver Range Resources was one of our previous spinouts. Like I said, they're now active in Nevada. Skylight is one of the many epithermal targets that they've acquired over the past couple of years. And the Huge is the one that is into Trifecta Gold. It was one that Mike Power dug out of an old Homestake database, and we weren't about to let this target leave the office. It already has some high-grade drill intersects below known mines and some fairly substantial arm waving by the Homestake geologist in his target report from the early 80s, and it was one that just was sitting there open ground. So lots of assets here in strategic. Time's up here, so I'll just hit the summary here. We've got 2 targets that are going to be drill tested this summer. We've got 18 other projects that we'll be doing surface work on, and we've got exposure to many other very promising exploration plays through large shareholdings. Thank you very much.